Thank you for joining us today for our Department of Energy and Energy Family press briefing this July 13. The Department of Energy is pleased to announce the resumption of the special green. Teka ha. Let me retract. We'll begin with a more general statement now. Today, we will provide updates on several key developments in the energy sector, from the global oil market and our native hydrogen exploration efforts, the special auction round for waste to energy, and the recalibration of the offshore wind auction under GAIA 5. These developments reflected the Department of Energy's continuing efforts to fulfill its role and mandate of ensuring that energy remains accessible, reliable, and secure for each and every Filipino, even as the global energy landscape becomes increasingly complex. We begin with the issue that has the most immediate impact on Filipino households and businesses: the price of petroleum products. Renewed geopolitical tensions, di pa po natatapos, in the Middle East have once again raised concerns over global oil supply disruptions. Last week po, nung nag-report tayo, mukhang kumakalma na siya. Pero ngayon po, the recent days, there are still growing tensions in the region. In particular, threats to navigation through the Strait of Hormuz have underscored the vulnerability of one of the world's most critical energy trade corridors, placing upward pressure, maakit na naman yung presyo, on international crude oil prices, and consequently affected po tayo dito po yung domestic pump prices natin. So expect a slight increase on our prices. As these global developments continue to unfold, the DOE remains vigilant and steadfast in implementing measures to safeguard the country's energy security, mitigate impacts on consumers, and ensure a stable and reliable fuel supply. At the same time, the department is closely monitoring the situation following the magnitude of 4.8 earthquake that struck off the coast of Claveria, Masbate this morning. We are currently assessing any possible effects on energy infrastructure and facilities in the affected area. The DOE remains prepared to respond promptly should any energy-related concerns arise. While we continue to respond to both global developments and domestic events, the department is equally focused on strengthening the country's indigenous energy resources. I am pleased to announce that Coloma Incorporated, a US-based company, operator of service contract number 84, has commenced its 2D seismic survey in Pangasinan. This marks an important milestone in the country's native hydrogen exploration program, as the survey will generate detailed subsurface images that will help identify prospective exploration areas, guide succeeding activities, and deepen our understanding of the area's geological potential. Medyo ma-technical po itong nire-report namin. Pero dumating na po yung mga equipments ng Coloma para gumawa ng X-ray po ng ating resources. So parang nag-X-ray, nag-ultrasound din siya. So i-explain to po mamaya to ni Undersecretary Sandy Sales kung ano po ang significance ng activity ng Coloma Incorporated po dyan po sa Pangasinan. Alongside our efforts to develop new indigenous energy resources, the department is also advancing renewable energy deployment through concrete policy actions. The DOE has officially lifted the suspension of activities and proceedings under the special auction round for waste to energy. Last Friday, we issued the amended framework governing the integration of waste-to-energy facilities into the country's power generation mix, together with the second supplemental terms of reference. Ito po yung mga improvements na ginawa po ng DOE sa current proposed auction for waste-to-energy. The amended framework introduces several key improvements, including an increase in the installation target from 230 megawatts to 400 megawatts. Di lang siya 230, inakyat po namin siya sa 400 megawatts. Extended registration and project implementation timelines and expanded eligibility to allow qualified waste-to-energy and biomass developers to participate. Waste-to-energy kasi it will help the country in our waste or garbage problem, especially the local government units and most especially in Metro Manila. So kaya po dinagdagan para kung mas marami po yung makaka-participate and magka-qualify, then this is our part of the solution, not the only solution for the flooding in Metro Manila and most of our urban cities. These enhancements are intended to encourage broader participation while ensuring that projects awarded under the auction are practical, competitive, and deliverable. So, na-change po ang mga schedule ng delivery nito para feasible yung project. Feasible yung project na i-award namin sa kung sino man mananalo sa auction. Minove po yung mga timelines para quality naman ang trabaho at reliable po ang planta. Kaya we extended the mechanical completion, mga commencement period niya. Marami pong ang change para po it becomes a very feasible and well-constructed project na tatagal po at makakatulong po sa ating mga cities dito sa Metro Manila. Beyond waste-to-energy, the DOE is likewise strengthening the policy framework for another priority renewable energy sector, offshore wind. We are recalibrating the implementation framework for the offshore wind under GAIA 5 to ensure that the country's first offshore wind auction, first ever, proceeds on a stronger and more implementation-ready foundation. The recalibration seeks to better align auction requirements with actual project development conditions, including infrastructure readiness, regulatory processes, transmission capability, and overall project deliverability. By addressing these considerations, before the auction resumes, we aim to strengthen investor confidence and improve the successful execution of awarded offshore wind projects. We are recalibrating to make sure that the integrity of our auctions are maintained. For the possible investors, the recalibration is to make sure that the project is not hindered by non-delivery on the part of the government. So we're making sure that the ports are ready when it is needed. Transmission is already being identified and will be available, and also the treatment of the environmental impact. So we're fixing all the ongoing issues before we proceed with the auction proper. But we've made headway over this past few weeks, and we will make an announcement on by next week on the new on the enhancements that we have made on a more specific terms, no? Mga next week and the next briefing, we will make the announcements kung if there are any changes or whether it's in the capacity, no, not in the capacity, but on the conditions that on the terms of reference. So we will announce next week, but for sure, the Department of Energy will conduct the first ever auction on offshore wind within the quarter. Within this quarter, meaning from today up to October, September. Uh, Likely we will be able to conduct the auction proper beforehand, and hopefully we can finish everything so that we can award it also as scheduled. Taken together, these developments demonstrate the department's continuing commitment to building a secure, diversified, resilient, and people-centered energy future. Whether responding to global market volatility, monitoring developments that may affect the country's energy infrastructure, advancing indigenous energy resources, expanding renewable energy opportunities, or strengthening our policy frameworks, our focus remains the same: delivering reliable, sustainable, and affordable energy for every Filipino. Now, for the announcement on the prices, the pump prices, I'll proceed directly na lang to the prices. The gasoline, there's a 2 peso range for gasoline. It can have between the price, the adjustments will be between rollback of 1 peso to price hike of 1 peso. So -1 to +1. So yan po yung range ng gas. Ang diesel, may price hike siya from 2 pesos 62 centavos to 4 pesos and 62 centavos. And then that's 2.62, 2 pesos and 62 centavos to 4 pesos and 62 centavos. And kerosene, it's 2 pesos and 22 centavos price hike to 4.22 pesos na price hike. So hindi siya pwedeng sumobra po ang increase ng kerosene sa 4.22. Sa diesel, ganun din po. Hindi siya pwedeng mag-increase more than 4.62. Because of the volatility of the market, and the international situation or the situation in the Middle East remains volatile. The DOE, if things do not settle down, we will be adjusting the announcement on the price adjustment next week, na wala na muna siyang, we won't have any ranges anymore. It will be the maximum or minimum na lang ang i-announce, because this is in protection of the consumers, kasi ayaw natin na affected, na kailangan ma-monitor ng maayos ng mga consumers natin at ng DOE, na lahat po ng mga presyo natin with are reflective of what is the adjustment internationally. Tsaka kaya po, next week po, if things are still volatile, then we will prescribe, wala na po yung range, kundi indefinite amount na lang, na maximum or minimum, whether it's rollback or all price hike. So for today, we have on our agenda today, we will start with the oil sector first, with Yusek Sandy and Director Rino, and then followed by Napocor, to be presented by President Coco Nograles. Then on the power sector, power grid status update with Yusek Mario Marasigan. The 2D seismic survey for native hydrogen under service contract 84 by Yusek Sandy Sales. The GAIA 5 update on Yusek Gev. And for offshore wind, for Yusek Wimpy also. Lifting the suspension of special green auction for waste to energy, Yusek Gev and Wimpy. 1 hour launch and other energy efficiency updates by Director Aquino. and last would be the question and answer. So we start with the Yusek Sandy and Rina. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Magandang tanghali po sa lahat. Updates lang sa inventory natin sa fuel supply. In terms sa gasoline po, meron tayo ngayong about 48 days. This is an increase of about 5 days from our report last week. Sa diesel naman po, almost 46 days ang supply natin. This is an increase in inventory of about 3 days from yung report natin last week as well. Kerosene still at healthy levels with almost 149 days. Ang jet fuel, nasa 80 days po. Ang fuel oil, 33 days. And ang LPG supply natin is almost 40 days. So all the petroleum products have healthy inventory levels as of Friday. Now I'd like to call on Director Rino for our fuel subsidy program.
On fuel subsidy, we started this program with LTFRB and Land Bank on April 13th. That's the April 13th to 19th. That's the week 1. Now we're on week 13, and that covers the period from July 2 to July 9. So this is the update as of July 9. The total subsidy availed of by beneficiaries, so PUJ at saka UV Express, totals now to around 268 million pesos. Mataas na rin ho ang ating utility vehicle beneficiaries, numbering around 83,381 unique PUV, meaning exclusive 83,381 vehicle plate numbers po ito. And then the gasoline stations now has also gone up. Participating gasoline stations, we now have almost 2,800 participants on the gasoline station side. So to sum up, 268 million released to the beneficiary, 83,381 vehicles who availed of this subsidy, and the gasoline stations now serving the vehicles totals to around 2,800. We will the next report will be from NAPOCAR.
Magandang hapon po. For NAPOCAR, maikli lang po yung ating report. Regarding Super Typhoon Inday, all dams in Luzon maintained normal high water levels as Inday weakened into a typhoon and localized rainfall had no significant effect. So, ang mga NAPOCAR managed dams remain in safe and stable operating conditions. This is Angat, Ambuklao, Binga, San Roque, and Caliraya. For Mindanao Generation, which is the Agus Pulangi hydroelectric plants, we are also reporting no untoward effects from Super Typhoon Inday. And sa aming mga small power utility group, yun po yung ating mga island electrification, nag-report po sila na marami na pong mga no sale ng Philippine Coast Guard ay na-lift na po, which means yung mga fuel hauling activities ng National Power Corporation will proceed to be normal in the coming days. In Masbate, in Burias Island, Masbate, we are happy to report that NAPOCAR was able to complete the relocation of 9 distribution lines and 9 poles in the island in order to respect and comply with the Ticao Burias Pass protected seascape Ito po ay isang priority project ng NAPOCOR, one of many under the leadership po of the DOE, that we will comply and respect environmental laws. So through the years, marami pong mga naging protected areas, and when they become protected areas, NAPOCOR will find ways to respect these protected areas na maski na kami yung nauna doon. So that is part of our nation building efforts in protecting our marine life and protected areas. So that's the leadership under the DOE. For Agus Pulangi Hydroelectric Plant complexes, as of July 9, 17 generating units of the Agus Pulangi Hydroelectric Power Plants are delivering a combined dependable capacity of 806.02 megawatts. That is an increase of approximately 10 megawatts for the grid after some renovation and restoration efforts since June 26. So we're happy to report na mas marami po yung clean energy na nanggagaling sa Agus and Pulangi hydroelectric plants. Lastly, NAPOCOR is happy to report that on July 10, last Friday, we were able to switch on and officially bring dependable energy to Cataban Island in the municipality of Talibon in Bohol. This is the first time that the municipality has reliable energy. And gone are the days where the fisher folk would have to buy disposable batteries. Ngayon, pwede na silang mag-rechargeable batteries, which is cleaner for the environment. And just as a side story, yung original po na schedule namin, dahil 8 hours lang po yung operation, ang original schedule is that we will energize from 4 p.m. to 12 midnight. Nakiusap po yung barangay at saka yung mga households po doon kung pwede yung energization schedule namin ay 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Nung nagtanong po ako bakit, ay dahil kailangan po ng fisher folk mag-recharge ng batteries. So lumalaot po sila pagdating ng alas 10 ng gabi at binebenta po nila yung kanilang mga isda at mga nahuhuli hindi sa Bohol pero tumatawid po sila ng Cebu. So ganun po yung buhay sa isla nila. And this is the 6th island that NAPOCOR electrified dito sa area under our off-grid electrification project. So we have the other islands like Sagasa, Maumawan, Malingin, Hingutanan, and Gaos, which were all successfully energized in May of 2025. NAPOCOR continues to work hard to go to the furthest areas that need electricity, and we are working hard to bring these parks and be a catalyst for economic change in the island. That's it for NAPOCOR. Thank you.
Thank you very much and magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. So for our grid status, I wish to inform that for Luzon, we have not reached the peak demand for the year. Our highest recorded is at 14,534, which was on May 28. However, for Visayas and Mindanao, we are projecting it to have that peak at the highest peak demand for these two islands sometime in the week of 32 and 31, respectively, with an expected peak demand at 2,942. But at the moment, the highest level that we have reached for the demand in Visayas is still at 2,779 megawatts. For Mindanao, we are projecting it to 3,038 megawatts, but so far the highest recorded in Mindanao is 2,775 megawatts. So amply provided po natin yung supply, particularly for Luzon and Mindanao. Per our projection last week and the actual that has happened, we have forecasted around 14,900 for Luzon, but the actual as a supply, but our supply went up actually to 16,113 megawatts. Our projected or forecasted demand is only at 13,014 megawatts, but slightly higher po yung actual demand natin at 13,526. For Mindanao muna, wag muna yung Visayas, our forecasted supply is at 3,105 megawatts, but the actual supply reached 3,203 megawatts against a forecasted demand of 2,638, pero the actual peak demand po natin last week was 2,554. For Visayas, we have a forecasted supply of 2,749, but the actual, with the continuing absence of Therma Visayas Unit 1 and 2, as well as the deratings of most of the facilities in the Visayas, our actual supply in the Visayas was only at 2,102 megawatts. Nonetheless, the 450 transfer from Mindanao was realized through the excess generation in Mindanao. Also, the excess generation in Luzon was able to fulfill up to 250 megawatts of transfer to the Visayas. Now, as we recognize the continuing problems and challenges in most of the islands or most of the areas that we are serving, the Department of Energy has initiated formulating master plans. We have started doing the master plans in cooperation and coordination with our concerned stakeholders. That includes po yung GOCCs natin. So of course, yung mga power suppliers natin and the electric cooperatives, as well as ho sa mga off-grid areas natin, NAPOCOR, National Transmission Corporation, and the potential investor po, the Maharlika Investment Fund. So we are also coordinating with the local government units. And so far, we have drawn the first two master plans for Palawan and Mindoro. So for coordination na lang na po namin sa mga local government unit. What we are strengthening now is the formulation of the master plan for the entire Visayas. So we are identifying the needed capacity to support Visayas and to act as a to have the Visayas grid to stand on its own, to have location-based generation as well as ancillary services. And if necessary, kung kailangan po yung ancillary services natin is to be provided on a per location basis, so pinag-aaralan po natin. So meantime, while we are trying to address the yellow alerts in the Visayas, we have alternative immediate solutions. We are seeing yung target po namin na 270, at least may nakikita na po kaming 200 megawatts. And for the second round ho, yung intermediate, we are considering additional capacities that may come on stream towards the end of the year. Yung fast track po natin, we should be ready by the end of this month as the first remedial measures natin. So, on another matter, pagdating po naman doon sa ating Task Force 200, so we are continuously monitoring all the 200 projects, but for the special monitoring of the 200 of the 25 projects, yun hong 11 projects natin ay naging 12 na with the entry of the Limbu 1 Solar Power Project Phase 2 with a capacity of 26.809 megawatts. Also, out of the 7 conducting testing and commissioning, we have 3 projects po na nakakompleto ng kanilang testing and commissioning. This includes Bugaluon Solar BGEC with a capacity of 18.56 megawatts. We have the Maladugao River Hydro at 8.4 megawatts. and Mangima Hydro at 12 megawatts. Another good news that we have for these facilities that are conducting testing and commissioning, the Terra Solar project po ng MGen, from an allotment of 364 megawatts. In the previous weeks, they are only testing 250 megawatts. Just over this weekend po, nag-issue na po yung ating National Grid Corporation of the Philippines to allow 750 megawatts for testing and commissioning. So we are already counting on those megawatts being delivered by Terra Solar. And hopefully, in the coming months, ma-reach po natin yung 1,350. What we have not yet firmed up is the capacity, that's for solar. Now, what we are trying to firm up is the capacity that can be exported by the battery energy storage component of the Terra Solar project. So we're seeing more capacities in the grid based on the monitoring po ng ating Task Force 200. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Just a short update now. I've come back on upstream. So we're continuing our efforts to look for and find and develop indigenous energy sources. So nabanggit kanina ni Sec yung tungkol sa native hydrogen exploration. So I'll give a little more detail on that. Yung contractor po natin ay si Coloma out of the US, and they are a special purpose company to go out and look for naturally occurring hydrogen. So in fact, even before pinarating dito yung mga seismic equipment to do the seismic survey, they were already engaged in acquiring airborne geophysical data. They started last March and finished the airborne gravity and magnetic survey in middle of June. They acquired a total of 28,000 line kilometers of data over northern parts of Zambales and the western part of Pangasinan. Now even though these data have been acquired, it will take 4 to 6 months to process. In the meantime, they are continuing their work and going to be acquiring about 136 kilometers of land seismic data. The land seismic data is going to be giving a better picture since these geophysical technique is what is used in imaging the subsurface. Hopefully they will complete that in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and they will move on to another area because we have signed a new contract with them, service contract 92, covering the western Zambales area. And fortunately, now that that contract is there and the seismic equipment is in country, they have indicated that after this 136 line kilometer survey, they will proceed to shoot seismic in service contract 92. So we are very hopeful that things will proceed as planned, and we hope that we will be lucky enough and be the first country in the world to produce from contract naturally occurring hydrogen. So what you're seeing in the picture now is what is called technically as a vibro-size truck. So essentially, malaking truck lang po siya, but yung middle portion, meron siyang special adapter that creates thumping energy. Kasi may parang thumper sa gitna po yan. And this is the first time na ginamit ito sa Pilipinas, no? So this is the first kind of this truck na pinarating dito, galing po itong Australia. Binisita namin noong July 10. Nakarating naman yung truck doon and they will be starting by this week. So itong truck na to makikita ng mga kababayan natin sa Western Pangasinan. Dadaan ito sa mga karsada. So every 40 meters titigil siya, tapos yung gitnang part na yan na para may mga hydraulics, bababayan at magkakaroon ng vibrations. Yayanagin niya yung lupa. So essentially, parang nagki-create siya ng maliliit na earthquake, no? Maliliit lang. Tapos yung signal na yan, may mga receivers na nilalatag. Pipick upin yung mga signal na bumabalik galing sa ilalim ng lupa. Yes, exactly. So para siyang ultrasound, magkakaroon ng final product image nung yung nasa ilalim ng lupa. At yun ang malaking makakatulong upang malaman kung meron bang paglalagyan ang hydrogen sa ilalim ng lupa. So fingers crossed, hopefully bago matapos ang taon, magdi-drill na po ang Coloma, kung hindi naman baka early part of next year. Yun lang po sa ngayon. Salamat po.
I'd like to add to the Secretary's report on the 5th round of the Green Energy Auction Program or GEA-5. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. GEA-5 Advisory Number 2 was issued by the GEA Bids and Awards Committee headed by Undersecretary Montevella to formally inform prospective bidders, qualified suppliers, and concerned renewable energy stakeholders that GEA-5 activities and proceedings are placed on hold until further notice. There are three things that are going to be needing some improvement. First is on port readiness. For offshore wind, ports are critical. They're not just ordinary logistics points. They will support the delivery, storage, staging, pre-assembly, loading, and installation of major offshore wind components. DOE is working closely with the Philippine Ports Authority on the status and availability of PPA-administered ports, port capacity, operational readiness, port time of use requirements, port fees and charges, port user agreements, and operational requirements for offshore wind developers. For offshore wind, port readiness is not only about whether a port exists, it is about whether the port can actually support the logistics, staging, loading, and installation requirements of offshore wind projects. We're also evaluating a port queuing and usage framework for GEA-5. This framework is intended to ensure that the use of PPA-administered ports is realistic and aligned with the proposed delivery commencement dates of offshore wind projects. Second, we are coordinating with DENR on Tenurial Authority, environmental permitting requirements, applicable environmental fees and charges, monitoring funds, bonds, and other financial assurance requirements, and the treatment of auxiliary, onshore, foreshore, and landfall areas. The department is also working with PNOC on possible arrangements involving auxiliary and onshore areas needed for offshore wind projects such as cable landing points, substations, access roads, staging areas, and related facilities. We want developers to have a clear guidance on environmental, tenurial, and cost obligations before the auction proceeds further. By clarifying DNR and PNOC-related requirements at this stage, DOE aims to reduce uncertainty on permitting timelines, area arrangements, fees, bonds, monitoring funds, and other obligations that may affect project costs and delivery. Third, grid readiness. DOE is coordinating with Transco, the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, and ERC and other relevant entities through appropriate DOE mechanisms, including the Ad Hoc Committee on Transmission, to ensure that offshore wind projects are aligned with transmission and grid readiness. Offshore wind capacity must be matched with transmission readiness. Otherwise, we risk awarding capacity that cannot be delivered to consumers on time. To support this recalibration, DOE is preparing to establish the implementing guidelines or implementation readiness framework for GEA-5. The framework will serve as policy basis for amending or supplementing the GEA-5 terms of reference. Once this is done, we will resume GEA-5 activities. Now let me continue on the
special green energy auction for waste to energy, special auction round for waste to energy projects under the Green Energy Auction Program following the publication of Department Circular and issuance of second supplemental terms of reference dated July 10. Among the key revisions that are introduced in the supplemental TOR are the following: increase in the installation target from 230 megawatts to 400 megawatts, extension of delivery commencement period up to December 31, 2029, extension of the mechanical completion deadline to December 31, 2028, extension of registration period for qualified suppliers until July 31, 2026, expansion of eligibility requirements to enable qualified waste-to-energy developers as well as qualified biomass project developers that have changed their development scheme to waste-to-energy technology and obtain DOE approval for such conversion on or before the end of the registration period to participate in the auction, and updates to registration, bidding, evaluation, and award timelines to provide stakeholders with sufficient time to prepare and comply with auction requirements. Under GAO WTE Advisory Number 3, stakeholders who have already submitted registration documents may opt to resubmit updated and complete submissions before the new registration deadline to reflect the revised mechanical completion date, delivery commencement date, and work program requirements under the latest TOR. The EDOE clarified that the most recent complete submission received will be used for evaluation process. Thank you.
Good afternoon po. Just some updates on oras natin sa efficiency. We're inviting everyone to join us on Friday at Iloilo Festival. This will be our first regional activation activity partnering with MegaWorld. Again, we invite everyone to join us for the Oras Natin sa Efficiency 1 activation activity in Iloilo City at Festival Walk. For our updates, right now, our collective efforts since the start of March 30, 2026, we've reached 110,594.17 megawatts of savings, equivalent to around 552,970 households being powered, consuming around 200 kilowatt hours per month. Our continuous reminder to the public is always to switch off your lights, non-essential lights, and unplug appliances that are not in use. Do this every day. But join us every Saturday from 8 to 9 p.m. for Oras Natin sa Efficiency 1 campaign. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Before we go for the Q&A, the yellow and the alerts that happened in Visayas the other day was due to outage ng isa nating malaking planta, but it went back right away naman. Pero we do understand na malaki po ang perwisyo na idulot nito sa mga kababayan natin. And that is why the DOE is has been working on increasing pa yung capacity natin, hopefully within the next few days or weeks, madadagdagan po, and Undersecretary Mario Marasigan has been working hard to deliver more projects or complete more projects within the next week or two. Kaya paumanhin lang po kasi talagang hindi unavoidable yung ibang nangyari dahil nga sa may mga nasira na unexpected natin. But we are aware na of the situation. So actually, we have been instructed by the President already a few weeks ago na kailangan talaga matapos na to. And we're working hard. We will report once any of the plants are finished and are part of the grid na para po ma-update po ang mga kababayan natin sa Visayas. Thank you. Go ahead, Mandy, for the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Secretary. We'll proceed with our Q&A portion. Firstly, from Manila Bulletin, a clarification on the specific market threshold that would trigger the mandatory minimum or maximum fuel price adjustment. So that's
What
on
was
our-
the question again? The specific
Is there a market
trigger?
trigger for our current circular?
It's not technically a trigger, ano? It's more of like the calculation that is the results of the calculation derived by DOE on the information that we gather, like the international market prices of the goods, whether it's the goods, the transportation, premium, and all else that is a component of the price. So, ang nagagawa po yun, ina-average natin as usual. We've been doing this for years already. We average 5 days, tapos doon po, compare po sa previous year, and then yung difference yun po yung price adjustment. So, what we have done during the oil crisis, nag-mandate ang DOE, nag-prescribe siya ng presyo na eto lang yung maximum. Halimbawa, pag 2 pesos lang, hanggang 2 pesos lang yung increase niyo, pwedeng less than that, but not more than 2 pesos. Pero recently po, because the market has been calming down and also to ensure the viability of the ano rin, yung negosyo din ng ating mga oil companies kasi ayaw din natin silang magsara, we prescribe a range. Now, ang next development niyan, because the prices seem to have, is very volatile still, so as decided here in DOE, next week, we will prescribe a specific number na, hindi na range. So, baka ang tinatanong niyo, bakit tayo babalik sa specific number na? Because we want to contain kasi it seems like umiba na naman ang ihip ng hangin ngayon doon sa Middle East at baka kailangan na natin ulit mag-prescribe ng presyo na specific na.
Thank you very much, Secretary. Moving forward to exploration from Cebu Daily News. They would like to ask on updates on Alegria oil field. Is there a timeline for the firm to develop and process crude oil and natural gas?
Yeah.
We
Yusek
have
Tan?
Yusek Sandy here. Thank you.
Yes, okay. So yung short answer, ang tinitingnan ng ating operator is 18 months, no? Dahil kailangan niyang balikan yung mga wells, linisin, i-re-enter, para tingin yung mga bagong equipment niya. So ang nominal timeline natin is 18 months, so 1.5 years.
Thank you very much, Yusek. And a follow-up question on the timeline of natural hydrogen exploration. We have this question from Manila Bulletin.
Thank you. So with regard sa particular question na yun, so ang tingin namin, given yung intense interest ng Coloma, talagang advance sila sa prosecution ng kanilang committed work program. So after the seismic, ang susunod nilang commitment ay to drill the well. So ang tingin namin, they could actually be drilling the well by the end of this year or the first quarter of next year. But at the end of the day, exploration po ito, hindi pa natin alam kung magkakaroon tayo ng big enough deposit na pwede maging commercial ang hydrogen. So it needs to be drilled and we need to measure how much can be extracted from the ground.
As for the next questions, thank you, Yusek Salas. We have several questions on Visayas Grid, although it was answered already from both Business Mirror and Cebu Daily News. They just wanted to clarify about the transmission lines also that tripped last week, namely PCPC and Cebu Iloilo PEDC.
Go ahead, Mario.
Thank you very much, Sec, and thank you very much for the question. Yes, we had an incident last week, July 8, wherein the Iloilo PEDC transmission line, it's a 138 kV line, that trip causing the isolation of PEDC Unit 3. No, that happened immediately after lunchtime. But at 2 o'clock, nakabalik naman kagad ulit yung linya. And PEDC likewise re-energized its facility and nakapag-energize siya at I think 15:33 or 3 o'clock, past 3 o'clock, no? Unfortunately, the following day, we had the tripping also of PCPC, which was reported as a suspected boiler tube leak. So ongoing ang mga repair, they initially committed to have the PCPC Unit 1 available today. But as we make the necessary follow-up, we were informed this morning that they will start synchronization to the grid tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yusek Mario. We have a follow-up question for Yusek Sales on the Coloma exploration. The question is from Business World. Is there an estimated investment of Coloma for the exploration alone? And has there been an estimation of power generation capacity?
Yes, thank you. No, like mentioned earlier, ito ay exploration phase. Under our system, meron silang 7 years to prosecute the exploration program. If I recall correctly, dalawa ang kontrata ng Coloma, Service Contract 83 and 84. Sa dalawang contract, if we combine yung kanilang commitment for these two contracts, I think yung 7-year period will be around $8 to $9 million that will be including the well. In terms of estimate about yung sa power, we still have no idea on the volume, even an idea if it will be commercial. Pero kasi ang utilization of hydrogen is straightforward. Pwede mo siyang sunugin instead of natural gas with the turbines and make the power, or pwede mong padaanin sa isang fuel cell to chemically produce electricity, or pwede mo rin siyang gamiting feedstock para gumawa ng fertilizer. So yung utility ng hydrogen, maraming pwedeng paggamitan. Ang main question natin, marami ba tayong makikita? So yun ang sasagutin ng exploration.
I just wanted to explain na ito kasi first time to eh. First time in the Philippines, and not only in the Philippines, first time in the world na gagawin to, na public bidding yung isang project for hydrogen. Now, hydrogen is different from natural gas. Bago to, mga bago po na idea, bago po na discovery. And in that sense, we are the first in the world to do this in this scale. And so, nauuna po tayo. Now, is there enough? May volume ba sa Pilipinas? Or meron bang hydrogen sa Pilipinas? Meron po. Makikita niyo po yan sa mga ilog, no? Creeks, na bumubula-bula siya. So that's hydrogen. So ang tanong po, marami ba yung stock natin or may maraming inventory? Yun po yung mahirap din kasing i-aralin, ano? Pero mabuti na lang, may dala na technology si Coloma, and they're flying planes all over the place para mag-x-ray. Tapos maglalagay din sila ng yung nakita niyong truck na yan, they will do like an ultrasound kung ano po yung itsura sa baba. Imamapping nila yan kung meron ba tayong malaking reserve or nakakalat ba siya, saan ba siya, gaano siya kalalim, and especially the volume. So ngayon po, hindi pa natin alam lang natin na meron. So the Coloma Incorporated is now coming up with implementing everything para makagawa tayo ng mapa. No? So we'll see what we have. Now, if there is a small volume, then maybe it's not worth drilling. Kung may volume siya, then ang possibility niyon, it's also for power and non-power. Ito po, very novel idea to. Usually yung hydrogen na produce chemically, hindi po siya natural or indigenous na tulad nangyayari ngayon dito sa Coloma Incorporated na venture. But we will report as we go. But we are quite excited about this project because kahit po yung truck na yun for the vibration na iikot po sa Pangasinan, huwag kayong mag-alala, mga taga Pangasinan, hindi nyo po mararamdaman po ang vibration na yan. Sobrang light lang yan, pero kasi meron na silang mga equipment para mag-assess yan. Pero kakalat lang siya sa mga beside the road. Merong maliliit lang sila na gadget, but don't worry, it will not disturb or hindi po yan mafe-feel po sa bahay niyo kung anong pong ginagawa nila. But we will see. Kailangan nila i-gather all the data ngayon. Tapos iniipon nila yan. Meron nag-set up sila ng office po sa Pangasinan. Iniipon nila. Tapos ipapadala nila sa kanilang supercomputer, sabihin natin, para gumawa ng mapa. And we will get the assessment by 2 months or more, 6 months pa. Mga 6 months yan. Ganon ka-complicated yan. 6 months para gumawa they can draw the map, what we have in those areas. So by the end of the year, we will see kung anong possible na potential ng hydrogen po sa Pilipinas. Kung may volume ba siya or maliit pa yung volume or kung wala.
Thank you very much, Secretary. And Yusek Salas, we have several questions now. But
Pero
first,
Mandy, yung thumper na yon, yung nagva-vibrate na truck, that's the first time ever that it's in the Philippines. Kaya napaka-exciting po ito para lalo na sa mga geologists natin.
definitely congratulations to the Philippines for this historic milestone, and hopefully may mahanap pong natural hydrogen exploration dito sa Pilipinas. So we have Mr. Alvin El Chico. You may unmute your mic to ask your question, sir.
Hi, Sec. Sec, for my social media lang po. Papaulit ko lang, ano po yung dahilan? Bakit babalik tayo dun sa specific computation versus dun sa ginagawa natin for the past few weeks na price range? Bakit tayo babalik sa specific computation?
Nag-range tayo kasi we thought that with the agreement kakalma na yung presyo, ano. But by observation of this week and last week, parang hindi pa siya bumababa at bumaba. So we decided to be stricter on the prices para ma-monitor natin ng maayos at maproteksyonan yung mga kababayan natin whenever they buy gas or diesel.
So it has nothing to do sex reklamo kasi maraming reklamo din sa social media na ang palaging pinipili po ng mga kumpanya ng langis yung higher range kumpara sa lower range.
Related din yan, Alvin, because if the prices are still volatile, ayaw natin ng abuse, no? Kaya mas madali po ma-monitor at ma-control po ng DOE pag definite yung isang presyo lang. Huwag muna tayong mag-range, balik muna tayo ngayon sa isa lang para hindi po ma-abuse din yung range natin. So it's better for the protection of our consumers and also for monitoring ng gobyerno.
Pwede pa isa, Mandy, isa na lang.
Sec,
Baka kasi wala ka tomorrow. Pahingi po ng posisyon ninyo. I understand si Senator Risa Ontiveros is conducting a probe doon sa pagsipa ng singil sa kuryente. Because if you go to social media, ang dami po nagpo-post ng bill nila na talagang ang tindi ng pagtaas. I wonder, anong posisyon mo as Energy Secretary sa pagtaas ng singil sa kuryente, particular na Meralco po? Go.
yes, it's a very much welcome probe by the good senator. Kasi kailangan naman talaga we should always be vigilant with the decisions of our public utilities. So it helps po na para monitoring and policing. This is not saying na may guilty dyan na distribution utility or guilty na electric co-op or any of our stakeholders, but a probe will also help us in ensuring that everybody is following what the policies are and the regulations of ERC, but it will also help us improve the policies and regulations also.
So supportive kayo doon, Sec.
Yes, yes, Alvin. We're very supportive of the probe para makita rin at maintindihan din ng mga tao kung tama ba or mali ba. At kung may mali din kaming policy or regulation. So that will help us also do better service to our constituents. Yes.
Thank you po. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. El Chico, and thank you, Secretary, for your answers there. We have several questions on the green energy auctions. If we may have Yusek Guevara join us as well for this. Firstly, from the Manila Times, for GAIA 5 offshore wind, to clarify, is the DOE targeting to resume this by third quarter of 2026?
Yes, this is the third quarter. Within this quarter.
Okay, thank you, Yusek. We have a question from Phil Starr. Would the GAO postponements affect the country's energy targets? But more importantly, what improvements does the DOE plan to implement to help prevent similar postponements in the future?
Thank you for that question. Remember, GAIA 5 on offshore wind and the special auction on waste to energy are first time auctions for those two technologies. Hence, there are some birth pains, and we are addressing those birth pains. In fact, if you notice, for the special auction for waste to energy, it only took us about 2 weeks or 3 weeks to go back and resume the activities of the auction. So allow us the time to recalibrate the auction to make sure that our targets are realistic and that we can deliver. As for what will the effect of the delays be on our power targets, there is no effect actually, because we are on track with our 35% by 2030 of renewable energy in the generation mix.
Thank you very much, Yusek Gev. As for the waste to energy auction, we have a question from Manila Bulletin. Is there already a list of developers who have expressed interest?
Oh yeah, long list. That's
And-
why we increased from 230 to 400 megawatts.
And I suppose a follow-up to that is, can it be released to the public?
No, that will affect our auction.
Okay, thank you, Manila Bulletin. Hope that answers your question. We have just the last few questions here. Thank you for joining our press con. I believe the good question from Rappler has already been answered on the probe, the Senate probe. As for PCIJ, Ms. Gwen Latosa, she has a question on the DOE stance on the ERC's proposed resolution to review the TOR for competitive selection processes.
Yes, we are quite supportive, and we much welcome yung move ng ERC. That will help us with the transparency and the clarity on the CSPs. Yun yung mga paano ba bumibili ng power ang ating mga distribution utilities. But also, I think the intent also of ERC is to make sure that the cost that is paid by your electric co-ops and distribution utilities are the lowest possible also para hindi po umakyat po ang presyo ng electricity natin. Alright? Alright, so thank you very much and magandang hapon. If there's no more, thank you.